Kris, you're going up against a Red Wings squad that has a lot of goals from its back end. How do you kind of coach against a team that is willing to be super active from the back end?
Just a reminder for our forwards, not getting beat up in the rush, because that's where a lot of it offense generates. Just their forwards, whether they're hitting those defensemen late or the defenseman driving the net. Ultimately, if you just beat them off the rush or beat them off the out of the defensive zone or their defensive zone, have a quick reload, usually take them out of the play, and then they're not getting involved in the play. So, yeah, a lot of emphasis from our forwards.
Watching the game tape again from Chicago, what are some things that your team needs to improve in order to create a little bit more opportunities?
Play faster, more direct, simpler. I think we were just playing on the perimeter, slowing it down, looking for the perfect play, and ultimately it just slows your game down. So we want to play a little bit faster, and definitely need to against this team with the way they've got skill and speed. So we're going to have to be much sharper tonight.
Kris, you coached Alex DeBrincat in Erie. When he first showed up there, did you think that he was going to be a guy that would be a 3-time 50-goal scorer junior and a 2-time 40-goal scorer in the NHL?
Not at all. He was about 140 pounds, 5'6", and undrafted player. But after getting to know him after a couple weeks, you could realize that he was going to be a player. And at the time, we had such a big turnover. We had our first good season in Erie, had a big changeover. We had obviously McDavid. Weren't sure who was going to play with McDavid, and timing couldn't have been better for Alex, and he came in there and certainly showed that he was worthy of it, and outstanding goal scoring ability.
He has skill, but is there a part of his game, maybe physical, despite the fact that he's a diminutive guy, that's underrated in terms of his ability?
Oh, he's feisty. He's got a lot of compete in him. I've seen him in the OHL have some fights and sticking up for teammates, and probably one of the biggest things that probably doesn't get noticed is how strong he is on the puck and being able to strip players, whether that's with his quickness or just with a strong stick. Yeah, there's a lot of skills that he has that he's not just a goal scorer.
Was the hockey IQ obvious then? I mean, obviously a guy who can play with McDavid, Kane, he can think the game well. Like, can you describe that? Was it like that back then?
Yes, he was. And he was, I think he got overlooked and got passed up in the draft or pushed back because he got so much attention or thought he was benefiting from playing with some pretty good centermen, whether that was McDavid or Strome. But I know with us, his actually points per game was actually higher when he was away from those guys. Really? When he was actually a centerman on a line with Kyle Maximovich and Taylor Radish. Those three hit it off really well, and yeah, I guess not enough scouts saw him play center in that role, but yeah, everything he was a really good player.
So bottom line, I mean, he can play with great players, but he's a good player in his own right, is what you're saying.
Oh, absolutely, and I don't think he got enough credit for that, and I think he would have been easily a first-round draft pick. I think a lot of teams underestimated him, but obviously there's a lot of players like that who are having success here and in the NHL. But for me, being able to coach him as long as I did, there's obviously I appreciated the skills that he had.
Tony alluded to their D a bit, but the reality is the depth of the forwards. I think Jack asked the saddle on. They got 9 forwards, 9+ goals. This is a very different animal than some other teams out there, given the depth of the forward. Does that provide some potential matchup challenges for you, given how deep they can go in their lineup to generate offense up front?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got a little more challenges there. When you have that depth, there's a lot more speed and a team that's usually a little more tenacious, and it does give your team a little more challenge. But a team that rolls them and plays that way can't really rely on line matchups as much. So we'll see how the game goes, and hopefully we can dictate the play and not worry about what they're doing.